Okay. Okay, sorry, we still have people still trying to join us, so we're like, ah. Okay. So now, like I was mentioning, now more than ever, it's important for us to be the professional. I think there's so much, obviously competition. There's just a lot of reasons why it's important for us to make sure that we are coming across as a true professional. A lot of agents don't do buyer presentations. They think it's something that's, done when you list a home. But in all actuality, a buyer presentation is very important. And there's a few reasons. Number one, you want to educate your client so that way they know what to expect during the home buying process. Every market is different. The process could be different depending upon what it is that they're buying. So it's important to set up the expectation so that way there's a lot less questions, because I know us as agents sometimes we tend to get frustrated. But again, if we don't do our part up front, then we have to understand why the clients might have additional questions and stuff like that, because we're not doing our part in educating them up front. And it can avoid a lot of other things. So education up front is huge. Also, it sets you up as a professional because you're showing them, why, you are who you are and you do what you do. And it also helps you establish control of that client. A lot of times you see how you get a phone call, a buyer's excited, I want to buy a home, and we're excited too. We have a lead. So it's, okay, what do you want to buy and where do you want to go? And let me get you, connected with my lender. But you fail to do a lot of the important setup where you're setting up, like I said, the expectations, you're establishing, what they can expect and how the timeline's going to go. So it's important right now with COVID, you can do an online presentation with them. You can do it via Zoom, you could do FaceTime, or you could simply mail it to them, or if they're comfortable, come into the office, or you can go into their home. It's just really all up to you and which way you want to do it. But I can say that having done these presentations, it does allow things just to be a lot smoother, because you're answering a lot of questions up front, and you're making sure that everything is laid out on the table, I guess you could say. So what I'm going to show you guys is just a sample. This is not actually the presentation that I use, but I'm going to give you a sample of what you should include. You can always add other things, but it's just a little bit of a sample. So that way, again, it helps you when you decide to do yours. If you have one, you can, do, you can maybe reorganize it. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to tell the client who you are. A little bit about yourself, a brief background about you. How many years you have in the experience, if there's any specialties you have, whatever it is that you feel is important to let them know why you're the professional. And a little bit about your business. What is your unique process? What is it that you do differently, or what sets you apart from all the other agents out there? So again, it's important to actually sit there. This is why a lot of agents don't do these, because it does take a lot for you to just, you have to spend the time. Building the content is the most important. So actually sitting there and really thinking, why would you work with you? What is it that you're going to do differently? Because you can show up and say, well, I'm this agent and I'll do this, this, and this. Well, so does every other agent. So what is different about you? And why is your unique process different? So that's something that's really important, where you have to have a heart to heart and be honest with yourself. And this actually will maybe help you discover some things to say, wow, I didn't realize that I actually am great at this, or I'm great at that. So this is what I notice, what I do more of. So again, focus on those, pull those out. And then you want to ask, you want to explain to them why you're right for them. Why is, Remax, or what company you're working with, why your team, why, you can be trusted, why you are knowledgeable, the experience you have a team, whatever it is, you want them to know this is why. And again, it can be with stories. It can be with, I've sold over so many homes, or I'm familiar, with this local area. And you can always change your buyer's presentation and customize it to that particular client. So let's just say you have a senior client that's going to be looking to, downsize into a senior community. You can talk about that. You can put in a slide that is geared towards that person. You can talk about your experience working with seniors, how you've helped, other people, transition into other homes. That, is also going to help you connect with the buyer. Let's say these clients were telling you that they were interested in buying a home on a golf course. Those are things that when you have that initial conversation, that they, there's key things that they may say to you, take those key things down, listen. And again, you want to expand on whatever information you have to show them that you're listening, number one, and that you have experience with whatever it is that they're looking for, whether they're first time buyers or, downsize, upsize, whatever it is. Again, you want to customize it for them. And the next thing is you want to let them know what can we do for you. So you want to explain to them, this is what we're going to do while we're, helping you find a home. We're going to help you visualize it. We're going to recommend our partners that we work with, and that can be lender, inspectors, different things. They have the right to choose their own, but you also have the group of professionals you work with as well. You're going to help find them that home that they're looking for, and you're going to provide, them with the best fit of every need that they have, real estate wise. It's important to always provide current market facts. This is where obviously this slide is going to change as the market changes. Right now, we already know there's multiple offers. It's so important to educate your clients. Once a buyer gets approved, if you don't have this conversation with them and you just put them, tell them, hey, I'll meet you at this first property. We're going to look at 5 homes today. Okay, you want to write offers, but you're not actually talking to them and discussing how the market's working, they're going to get discouraged pretty easily. And don't be afraid to have those conversations. A lot of agents don't want to have those conversations because they're afraid, the buyer's, not going to believe me, or they're not going to, they're going to start asking questions with other people. But the thing is the more honest you are, especially when you're honest up front, the easier it is. Don't assume the clients know what the market's like. That's our job, to educate them. So spending the time and letting them know right now we're in a very high, competitive market. There's overbidding going on. Explain to them what the contingencies are, why some people are removing stuff. Are you comfortable with allowing them to remove it? Every home is going to be different, because obviously you're going to base it off your facts that you have. So again, you're going to want to let them know there's other ways for them to be aggressive as well. So as an agent, you have to make sure that you explain that to them. So that way, again, if they get outbidded on a property, they're not upset with you. They already knew, you had already discussed that with them, the possibilities of X, Y, and Z happening. So now they're like, okay, no problem, let's move forward. Opposed to, you're not having those conversations, they don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden, sorry, you didn't get that offer. Sorry, you didn't get that offer. Sorry, you didn't get that offer. Now they're going to think it's you. Now they're going to start questioning, hey, and then they're going to talk to someone at work or a cousin or whoever who's going to say, well, actually, I got my first offer accepted. But again, when did that happen? And so again, you have to make sure that you are educating your client. That is your responsibility to definitely do that. And again, show them again the market, the real estate market, the growth trends over the years, why buying a home right now is a great time, why rates are good. So you'll always want to find a slide or create your own that shows, how values continue to increase and what the projection is, for the years to come. And, you can compare prices from last year or for the last 2 years to what the rates are and stuff like that. I love doing those kind of comparisons. Very easy. You go into the MLS, you put in the dates, and it'll give you all the information you need. So, obviously, the internet is a great source for a lot of old real estate facts. So that's kind of what you want to do, is educate yourself, because you are the professional, so you can give the information to them so that way they understand why they're buying right now and if it is a good time or not for them to buy. You also want to give them data, facts. You want to get them excited about it. You want to touch on that emotion with them. And so you want to get them going by just letting them know a little bit about, again, percentage wise, 93% of people want to own their own home. And why do you think that is? You're going to have conversations with them. You're going over this with them. And 3 out of 10 people currently rent their homes. And, again, have more conversation about that. How do you feel about renting? How long have you rented? What has been your best experience, your worst experience? Again, you want to touch on those things so that way they continue to remember why it is they want to own their own home. You definitely want to tap on what are their real estate goals. What is it that you want out of this? And they can, go into detail, oh, I want to buy a house because, my daughter's turning 1 and I want to find a place where she's going to be able to grow up in. We want to have more kids, or, we want to move to a smaller place, or we want to move to a different city. Whatever their goals are, that's important for you to focus on. And sometimes those goals right now aren't actually a reality because maybe they don't qualify for what they would really want. But again, then that's where you have to be the professional and guide them and show them, what, if you start here, then this is what the possibilities could be to get you here. But again, you have to know their goals. A lot of times it's just their goals. It doesn't mean that it's what they're going to obtain now, but it's important for you to know that up front, because again, a lot of times we don't ask and we just say, here, we're going to send you what's available. And they're like, well, this is nothing what we want. I don't know how many times any of you have gotten calls from other clients who said, I'm working with an agent. She doesn't listen to me. She's sending me all kinds of crap. She's not sending me what I want. But again, she's not telling them, if you're in this city, this is what you're buying, instead of, if you're looking for this home, then I might have to take you to this city. So they're not being proactive and giving, more information. They're just sending what's there. And then, obviously you want to touch on what is their current, housing situation. Is there any obstacles that's going to prevent them from buying? What's their time frame? Do they have a home to sell? Are they in a lease? Any of those things. Do they have to move by a certain date, maybe because they want to be there before school starts, or maybe they're starting a new job, or who knows. But it's important to definitely, again, stay in tune with their needs and wants. And then you definitely want to touch on new homes and resale homes. A lot of new homes right now are being built and buyers are going without their agents. They're on their way to their aunts for the weekend, or, on their way to wherever, right? Because we're not really supposed to be going anywhere, but they're still on their way somewhere. And they're like, oh, I just stopped in, the new home just to take a look, and I actually like it. So we're actually going to be buying a new home. And then there goes, your sales. So it's important, again, for you to educate your clients once they meet you, or once, they give you the opportunity, and let them know why you are also a professional and you can sell new homes. You want to definitely explain to them why they don't want to go in by themselves, why the builders are there, their agents are there for them, and not, not necessarily for the buyer. And explain to them it doesn't cost you anything to have representation. So, they don't want to be caught alone signing, their contracts. Those contracts are over 140 pages. So right now, because of COVID, and even before, a lot of these builders e-sign them. They send them to them and they expect them to sign them in their own home without them knowing truly what they're signing. And they're supposed to just, tap, 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 tap and sign. And they have no clue really what they're signing. They don't know if they have any contingencies. They don't know how many days they have and if they can cancel. They don't know any of those things. They don't go in negotiating. The new builder is like, look, here's a brochure. This is the price. This is what you get. They don't say, well, if you guys want to negotiate, we can submit an offer, because they can submit offers, but they don't say that. And again, so those are the reasons why you want to explain to your clients why it's important for them not to walk in alone. But again, if you don't tell them, they don't know. So make sure you have that slide in there for sure. You can tell them the pros and cons of new and resale. You want to get into detail about the average buying timeline. What's the process? So week 1, what can they expect? Week 2, what can they expect? Or day, you know, whatever it is, you have to, you know, do it dependent upon how the market goes. So you can do days, you could do weeks, you can do your timeline, however, but again, you have to remember that they want to know what to expect. How soon can they expect to be in a home, or how soon does escrow, you know, close? That, you know, everybody has all those questions, so they want to know. So it's important to kind of give them a rough estimate timeline. And then you want to explain the buying process, you know, from start to finish. What is, let's see, sorry here, trying to admit more people, sorry. Um, what is the buying process from start to finish? So, you know, number one, you want to do slides. These, like I said, are just kind of samples, but you want to go into depth about each one of these. You know, what's their buying power? What does that mean? What does meeting with the loan officer mean? What actually takes place when they do that? You know, and then after you find that out, you know, finding the right home. What exactly, again, is entailed in that? What does finding the right home mean? What do we do? What apps do I use? What can they expect? Where are they going to look for this home? You know, how are you going to communicate with them? So that's important for them to know that as well. And previewing homes, how are you going to go about previewing homes? Like I said, right now you might say, what is your, you know, what days are you guys available to see homes? Well, actually I work until 6, my husband works until 7:30, so really all we have is Sundays. Let's just say that happens. Or all we have is Saturdays, or all we have is, you know, Monday evenings, or whatever the case is, because everybody's schedules are different. So if that's the case, we as agents have to be a little bit more aggressive. We might have to go and preview the homes ourselves, video them, maybe have them on FaceTime, or just take a video, send it to them of all the things that are important to them. So that way because obviously if a home on Monday, if we wait till Saturday, for the most part, from the way things are going right now, we already know it's not going to be available. So again, communicating that to them and letting them know, are you guys comfortable with me previewing it for you? What are the key things that you want me to, you know, dial in on or focus on while I'm there at the property? Maybe they want to know how old the AC is. Maybe they want to see, you know, how old, you know, some of the components are. Maybe they want to know what the street looks like driving up. So there's other things that you want to make sure you ask them, because then that way you're definitely answering those questions for them as well. And then making the offer, that's something else. Like I said, you want to talk to them in regards to how you go about making an offer, what it entails. Explain to them a deposit. What is a earnest money deposit? You'd be surprised how many people don't discuss earnest money deposit, and then they get the offer accepted, and I don't know where the agent comes up with how much to put in there, but I've seen that happen where they're like, oh, I have to give money? I didn't know that. Or, you know, they don't know up until that point, well, I don't have any money. I actually am going to get money from my 401k. So can they wait? So again, having just all these discussions ahead of time really helps. So that way you tell them up front, they don't feel like, okay, why are they barely telling me now? You don't ever want them to ever doubt you. You want them to know that, you know, you're guiding them, you're giving them the right, you know, information ahead of time. And then the same thing with the inspections and appraisals. You know, you can explain to them how inspections, when they're done, what the purpose of them, you know, is. And then again, what is the average cost for the inspection? When an inspection is done, it is paid to a third party. Therefore, if you cancel, that money is it's non-refundable. They need to know those things. And don't be afraid. Like I said, a lot of agents feel, oh my gosh, if I say that, they're not going to want to work with me. It applies to everybody they work with. So it's just important to give them that information, you know, at that time. So that way, again, they don't feel like they're at the inspection now and the inspector says, oh, by the way, it's $300. And they're like, oh, I didn't know I had to pay you. Oh, okay. And they look at you like, thanks for telling me. So again, make sure that you're doing all of that up front. Everything moves smoothly and it's great. And same thing with the appraisal. I mean, obviously it is the lender's, you know, responsibility to discuss appraisal, but I like to do it myself as well. That way I know I had that conversation. That way in the event they say, oh, well, I didn't know. Well, at least I know that I had that conversation with them as well. So that, you know, shouldn't happen. And then I discuss repairs. Again, get into detail. What does as is mean? You know, every contract is written as is, but what does that truly mean? So you have to understand what it means so you can explain it. So what does an as-is contract mean? So because it's, again, it says that the properties are, based as is until you do your inspection, and then whatever you find at that point, then there could be other things that you may need repaired in order for you to continue to pay that same price. So again, just understanding and educating and giving them the facts, so that way they know what they can, what they can ask for, or what's kind of ridiculous to ask for. And then discussing disclosures, obviously, the importance of those, knowing what, what's happened in the home previously, has the seller had any issues with it. So again, letting them know what to expect and letting them know where they can get additional information if they need it, because it's important for them to do their due diligence. And that's what we're there for, to guide them. Explaining to them what escrow and title is and how it matters and what their jobs are and how, it's incorporated into the transaction. And then again, the fun part, the final walkthrough, letting them know when to expect to do that and what takes place during a final walkthrough. I've had stories of things that take place during a final walkthrough. So again, with your experience, you learn things. So those are always nice things to let them know why or why not. If they ask you, do I absolutely have to do a final walkthrough? And you can explain to them. Closing day is always one of the best days for the most part, right? Except when you have tenants that don't want to leave, but for the most part, it's a great day. And so you want to get them excited about that closing day and about them getting their keys. And then delivering possession, because maybe they don't get their keys on the day that, escrow closes. Again, make sure you're discussing that too, so they know when to expect to get keys. And then just dependent upon you, I do a closing consultation with my clients 7 to 10 days after escrow closes. I like to go and meet with them, and I like to see how things are going in their home. Is there any concerns? I love hearing their stories, how their moving experience was, because they're pretty funny sometimes. And at that time, you're building rapport, you're building a relationship. You're now part of that whole journey with them. And, that's the time where you can either ask for referrals or you can have them do reviews for you. And it's just a great time, to be honest. So, you're just explaining to them how to get in touch with their home warranty if they need it. Make sure their homeowner's insurance has the definitely the coverages that they are, that they want. Because sometimes the lenders, order these, their mortgage insurance just to close the deal, and they don't really realize what coverage is on there. So it's important that they call and they have that conversation and make sure that the coverage is what they wanted. They don't want to wait until something happens to their home and they call then, and then it ends up being, well, your deductible's this, or we don't cover that, or who knows what. So you just want to make sure that the insurance is the right one for your clients. And again, I just go over everything, just making sure that they're aware of, maybe any repairs that were done, maybe any warranties that were given to them on any of the repairs and stuff like that. So again, those are also really, really good times to, continue to build relationship and get more business.
Here, but she takes forever and tell you
this here
a long story about this.
Is important for you to do a page on testimonials. So on this one, it allows you to add a video. Video speaks of, 1,000 words. So nothing, obviously says more than a good testimonial. So you can add this, and it's nice when they're watching it, you can see their emotion, because they're like, oh, wow, this person really enjoyed working. So this person's talking about their experience, working with me. And a lot of times, like I said, you people are just very emotional while they're talking about it. Here, it shows the 5-star ratings and then a picture of your client. You can add whatever, but you definitely need testimonials, because that sells more than anything. And then here I just put in some common buying concerns, just letting them know it's very common to be excited, to be stressed. It's very common. It's not, don't feel you're alone. Don't think you're the only one who feels a certain way. So again, it's important to have those discussions with them, letting them know that there's going to be different emotions that they're going to go through, and it's okay. You're there to guide them all the way through. And then here you want to let them know, who works with you. So here would be me, primarily me. I do have agents that help me as well. So depending upon, again, I may have one of the agents help me with this particular buyer. So if that's the case, then I'll add them to here as well. So that way they can meet that person. I'll introduce them to who it is that is going to assist me with mortgage lending. And then also to my, my assistant who also is a huge part of the transaction as well. So that way they know who it is that's going to be helping them throughout the transaction. They can put a face with the name. Also, you want to make sure that they know how to find you. So make sure that you're not just, like they say, that you don't just have social media, but you're actually on social media by, being present, by posting, great content, market updates, again, giving great and valuable information. I know we're only one person. So it's important to build a team. It's important to find those people who are going to help you to accomplish this, because we are good at selling real estate. Let's face it, that's what we do. Every day we get up. So it's like, how are we supposed to be a graphic designer? How are we supposed to be a videographer? How are we supposed to be, someone doing, our transactions, like, pushing the papers? How are we supposed to do all those things and prospect? Well, we're not. And that's the thing, that a lot of our mentality is we're running a business. So in order to run a business, we need to hire people who are going to help us, or surround ourselves with people who are going to help us obtain what we're, our goals. So again, keep that in mind. And this presentation also, building this presentation, you may think, wow, how am I going to do this? Because I have no clue how to even do anything, technology wise or presentation wise. Again, you find the right people to help you connect those dots. So that's important. And then again, your contact information, how do they get a hold of you? Well, what's the best form of communication? That's another thing you want to ask them. What's the best way for me to communicate with you? Is it via, text message? Is it a phone call? Is it email? Because that's important, because you have to respect what it is that they want. Some people still want a phone call. They do not want to be text, or other people don't want a phone call at all. They want to be text. So having that, understanding is huge as well. And then you want to do a slide with any questions. Now, after you've given them all that information, is there any questions left? And I'll be very honest with you. When I'm done with my presentation, I would say 99% of the time, there's no questions, because we've answered everything. But there's maybe one time where they might ask one question, and it may have already been answered, but it may be asked in a different way. But for the most part, we're pretty detailed, where they're like, wow, that was amazing. Like, that was so much information. Like, I'm excited, like, where do we get started? And that's the whole goal, is you want to get them excited, because the next slide is, thank you for, hearing me out. Now let's get you started. Let's get going. What's the next step? And then here we go, for them to talk to the lender, so that way they get all that stuff going, and then we can get them, excited about their home purchase. But now, again, they know what to expect. They already know that I got to get to the lender. I got to do everything he tells me to do before he's going to give that pre-approval package to her, so I can start looking. So the expectations already set up. It's not like, okay, so when are we seeing homes? They don't ask that, because they already know what the process is. So that actually is what the presentation should include. So I am going to see if anybody has any questions, concerns. Let me see. Do we have, there we go. You guys can unmute yourselves and join the party. Because I feel like I'm talking to myself, and that's why it's like, okay, so Aaliyah asked, what template do you use that allows video? Well, this one, Jessica actually created it for me on Canva, but you can use Keynote. Keynote also does video, and I believe PowerPoint does too, so it just depends. Most of them will allow video, so you just insert the video. So that's a good thing. Oh, Jessica already answered her. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't see that. I just saw it now. So, but yeah. Does anybody else have any questions or anything at all?
Just Vanessa had, when you share a file on PDF Expert, do you recommend the original, flattened, or annotated?
Flattened. Flattened. Always flattened.
Okay, thank you. And then really quick, so like if you have a client that's out of state, do you just forward the presentation through email?
Never forward your presentation. You present it and it disappears. You don't give them your presentation.
Okay, so in person.
Yeah, so no, you can, if they're out of state, you would do it online.
Okay, like on a Zoom, on Zoom?
Online, or you could do it FaceTime,
Just
but
like
I don't ever recommend giving away your material.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Janie?
I'm good. That was really good.
Aaliyah?
Very informative. Had, you know, so far so good.
What about you, Terry?
No, I got in late, but I'll look at the recording. But it
Okay.
looks like a really good presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lots of good
Sonia,
ideas.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Sorry. Do you also do a seller's presentation equivalent to this?
Absolutely, yes.
Can we see that next time, perhaps?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Thank you.
presentations are huge because I've always done a seller's, but I want to say to me about 2 years ago. Because again, a lot, and like I said, I'm guilty too, where, we get a call from a buyer and it's, oh my gosh, we got a new buyer. Okay. Where do you want to go? Oh, you want to see something today? Okay, let's go. And we're not, and then we get frustrated because we're like, why is the buyer trying to tell me now, let's go here. Okay, now let's go there. And you're like, I'm all over the place with this buyer, but it's our fault because we're not educating them. We're not showing them the way. We're not showing them how it's done. So I've learned that my transactions are so much smoother when I do the buyer presentation. And to be honest with you, a lot of times they're on autopilot. I'm not doing as much because they already know. It's already set up. I don't feel like my phone's ringing more because now they're asking me more questions. Like a lot of information was already given. They already know what to expect. They know how we communicate when they want to see a home. So it's just so much more streamlined. So I really think that that's why everyone you can't really copy someone's. You can copy more or less what it should have, but how you work and what you want to do. So it's important for you to customize it so that way it flows with the way you want to do your work, because every agent obviously does work differently. So that's why it's important for you to really, key in to those things on how do you want to guide your clients and how do you want, how do you want your transaction to go? So I think those are important things. But it does set up as a professional, and I think that's the most important thing.
Are we still using the PED form? Are you using it every day? For every entrance?
Yes. So
Yeah.
what I do is once they're pre-approved, we'll send them a PED form and we don't put an address on it. So we'll have them sign one time and then we just change the address every time. So that's done on PDF Expert.
Great.
So we save it in PDF Expert and just change the date. The date and the address and just shoot it off to because it is required.
Right.
And for the most part, I believe all agents are asking for it.
Yes.
They are. We can't even show property unless we have emailed it to them first.
Right. So that's important. So you can even it's like your email, especially if you're a listing agent, your email is overloaded with all these PED forms. We actually need an email like PED@gmail or something, like just because it's so mujust the dang house. But yeah, you just want to make sure you're doing, what you need to do.
Right.
So does anyone else have any other questions? Does anyone see anything that
Thank you.
or anything missing? Helpful?
Thank you, Sonia. This was really good information. I'm going to follow a lot of what you said. It's really good. Thank you.
Welcome, Terry. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure, Sonia.
That's you, Loopy, behind the galaxy, huh?
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see what I look like in person. Let's see. There I am.
But yeah, no, you guys, and you know what? To be honest with you, when you start doing these presentations and you're reading, so when you're, that's why I'm saying do them so that way you can, it reminds you of certain things you want to definitely touch base on. Because a lot of times, if you're just having the conversation, you didn't tell them this, you didn't tell them that, we forget. So this is so thorough. But the more and more you do it, it's going to become second nature, and you realize how much better you sound. How, again, you can be having a conversation now on this with someone, let's just say while you're eating and they see that you're Remax or whatever, and they approach you. So now you actually are scripted, but you don't realize you're scripted. But because you practice it over and over, hey, well, what do I need to do this? And honestly, I give them this much, and then I tell them, when are you available? I would love to discuss everything with you in detail. So then they're like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. So then you set that appointment, because again, everybody just talks to them for a brief second and says, let me pass you off to my loan officer, without educating you. But again, you want to make sure that you're building trust. And that's the important thing, building trust with them, right? Especially right now. I mean, it's always important, but more than ever right now, because it's just the way the market is. You need someone that you feel like, no, I know they have my best interest at hand. I'm not going to question what they're saying, because you have a lot of people that talk negative. Why are you buying right now? Did they tell you that prices are high? And did they tell you this? And did they tell you that? And did they do this for you? And did they do that for you? It's like, it's sad that that's what we're up against, but just know that. So again, you don't ever want your client to doubt anything that you've said or done. And if you're not having this whole conversation with them, guess what happens? One thing you may have not covered with them, and this person says that one thing, and you're like, oh shoot, they didn't tell me that. Wow, oh, maybe that is going to blow up in my face later. So again, if they're educated, someone comes at them sideways, right? And then they're like, hey, this and that, and they're like, oh no, but we already discussed that. I'm gonna be able to do this or that. So they feel good, because it's like knowing, they're in the know, they know what's going on. So just some helpful tips, I guess you could say.
I like that it keeps you on track. Like they think that just hurts you. Oh, I have to cover that kind of thing. It's really, I like that a lot. And this was all done. I saw Jessica, you answered someone. It was done on Canva.
This one was Canva. Yeah.
Okay.
So again, that's like you just said that right, Jamie. Like, it keeps you on track. And I think a lot of times us as agents get off track so easily. And not only that, it holds us accountable. Because if we said, hey, we're a professional, we're showing up as a professional, we're going to do this, you better do it, So don't just say it, do it. So I think that's another reason too, is it's going to hold us accountable for what it is that we said we were going to do. So always, have all of your systems in place, because it makes it that much easier for us to go on to the next and go on to the next. So never be afraid to invest in yourself. That's, that you're all you got. So any other questions?
No, I'm good right now. Thank you so much, Sonia.
You're welcome. All right, you guys. Well, if we don't have any more questions, you guys want, I'll be happy to share the presentation with you guys. And then
That'd be great.
Can see the information and kind of get, just pull stuff off it. And if you don't have any testimonials, make sure you work on those, even if it's someone that bought, 6 months, a year ago, there's nothing wrong with giving them a call. How's your home? How have you transitioned? How are things going? And just let them know, it's so important, for others to know how your experience was with me. Would you mind letting people know? And it's like, what, I'm this month, if you do it, I'm giving away $10 to Starbucks. I don't know, but do something to motivate them to do it, because you'll get more than that $10 back. And you never know, they might say, as a matter of fact, my someone was talking about real estate. I'm going to pass them along your number. Okay, great. So, and that's another reason too, there's so many homes right now. or I'm not sorry, so many homes, so many buyers right now that are looking for homes. So if you know of anyone that wants to sell, let us know, because we have so many buyers. And I'm telling you, you should be making calls right now. You'd be surprised. A lot of people are asking, how are you doing this thing outside of the box? It's like just calling homeowners. I have buyers that want to buy. And, you start up the conversation. A lot of stuff isn't instant, but it can be weeks or months away, but it's something in the working, and that's what you want.
Right.
You want to build it up. So don't be afraid to call people and let them know the good news about how good it is to be a seller right now. So, okay, you guys, well, have a good weekend. And, weekend, we're Wednesday. So I'm already thinking it's weekend.
Thanks, Sonia.
You jumped so ahead. I was like, wait a minute.
I'm ready.
Already,
I'm ready.
already Friday at 5.
Thanks again, Sonia. Take care, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sonia.
you guys
Thank you.
no.
Bye.
All right, you guys have a good one.
You too.